Gunforce Battle Fire Engulfed Terror Island was released on the Super Nintendo in 1992. Before then, it had been an arcade game. It's a run and gun game. Put simply, you run to the side and shoot anything that moves. Very simple. Now, how could they mess that up? Well, I played through the entire game, and sadly I have to report that this is a deeply flawed game. Now, the first battle you fight is not with the enemy, but with the controls. For some reason, the programmers made the outer two buttons the shooting buttons, and the inner two buttons the jump buttons. This is against the norm for almost every single video game out there that has shoot and jump. After a while, you do get used to it. And in case you're wondering, there's no option screen to change the controls, unless there's a hidden option screen somewhere, but I couldn't find it. Now, as you can see, Gunforce runs very slowly. And the more things that come onto the screen, the slower it gets. It really begins to creep during the boss battles. Speaking of the boss battles, they're mainly just buildings with guns attached to them. By Super Nintendo standards, these bosses are pretty sad. You almost feel bad destroying them. In the graphics department, Gunforce isn't spectacular. Most of the scenery has a generic blocky look to it. The level designs are overly simple too. And what's the deal with the ladder animation? Somebody needs to go and fix that. Now, music in Gunforce does not live up to Super Nintendo standards. They didn't even bother putting music at the title screen, which doesn't exactly pump you up to play the game. One of the main features in the game is the machinery that you can take control of. This includes large helicopters, mechanized lifts, and gun turrets. Now, getting into these devices can be awkward. You have to position yourself in just the right spot, then hit the jump button. A lot of times you'll get killed just trying to get in. Now, the helicopters and tanks are alright, they're kind of fun. But some devices are pretty useless. There's no purpose in controlling a large gun if there's nothing to shoot, or if the angle in which you shoot doesn't hit anything. Like most run and gun games, you get some weapon upgrades, but for some reason, they have limited ammunition. Gunforce does have a co-op mode. As you can imagine, with so many more things on the screen, it does slow the game down even more than the single-player mode. The challenge goes away too. You and a friend should be able to beat the game the first time you ever play together. It's a very short game too. In co-op mode, me and my friend beat it in 20 minutes. Playing co-op does make the game a tiny bit more enjoyable, only because you can both make fun of the game as you go along. And some of the deaths are hilarious as well. Probably by this point in the review, I've built the case against Gunforce. Unfortunately though, for Gunforce, there's one other thing that would seal the deal. At the time of its release, there was something else casting a shadow over it. Contra 3, released the very same year as Gunforce, and on the same console. This game runs circles around Gunforce. The weapons are better, the bosses are better, the music is better. Despite having more things going on the screen, it runs a lot smoother. There's a little bit of slowdown at times, but not nearly as often as Gunforce. Just look at the protagonists. Who would you rather play as? These guys who look like robot nerds, or these guys who look like Rambo? Now, Gunforce may have landed on the Super Nintendo with a thud, but the series had a bright future. Eventually, the game would spawn a sequel in the arcades, Gunforce 2, which is supposed to be a very good game. After that, it would evolve into the Metal Slug series, a much more sophisticated series of run-and-gun games. When playing Gunforce, you can think of it as a Metal Slug prototype. I wanted to enjoy Gunforce since I like this type of game. But this game's a mess. Whatever you do, you want to skip this one. Unless you just have some morbid curiosity about it. So, I'll see you next time.